Rhetorical analysis, Judith Ortiz Cofer, The Myth of the Latin Woman, I Just Met a Girl Named Maria. Many people today are victims to hate crimes and racial profiling. People are picked on, ridiculed, and even shot at just for the color of their skin. In 2019, everyone believed by now we would have flying cars or cure cancer. However, we are still stuck in the 1500s and still not everyone of every race has equal opportunities or gets treated equally. In Judith Ortiz Cofer's essay of The Myth of the Latin Woman, I Just Met a Girl Named Maria, she talks of her viewpoint in society as a Latin woman, how differently she is treated. But she still strives to not let others put her down. To carry her main argument, she uses metaphors, hyperboles, imagery, and pathos to make her statement clear and show what her everyday life struggles are. Within Judith Cofer's storyline, her key point she is trying to convey is how stereotypes and actions can make a person's confidence level collapse and limit future goals and aspirations. As a Latina, she has struggled and was hurt, but stays strong because she knows that by lowering herself to her attackers' levels will do no good. She deals with harsh comments every day, but still has acquired many mechanisms for dealing with the anger she experiences. Cofer 107. In doing this, shows heart and strength because through this she still knows what her goals are and doesn't let anything stop her. The writer also shows us that even though she tries to stay strong through it all, it still hurts to have misconceptions perpetuated by the myth of the Latina as a whore. Cofer 109. After all the hard work in life, it must feel very degrading as a person to work your hardest but still be downgraded to such a disrespectful title as such. In our high technology world, where we have triumphed and discovered many new advantages, it truly astonishes me that a problem from so long ago still affects most of the population, and people cannot see that we are all equal. In getting her main points across, the writer uses techniques in order to persuade her viewers of how Latinas scuffle with society. As a child, Judith Cofer was defined by the color of her skin and accent, and found it hard to prove she was anything more. Her change from where she was from and where she moved was difficult to process because she could leave the island, master the English language, and travel as far as she could, but as a Latina, especially one like her, the island travels with her. Cofer 103. She used a metaphor to portray how no matter what she succeeded in or what she failed to do, she was seen just for her race and wanted desperately to change that. In the story, the writer talks about how her culture was so different from the one she was now put into, and how she dressed and acted contradicted those around her. She was confused as a young woman, found it hard to adjust to even the little things as she agonized in front of her closet trying to figure out what a career girl would wear. Cofer 104. With this hyperbole, shows how her exaggerant transition from her background as a Latina into an American girl was hard to process. Also, how much people judge others in the area we live. In telling her story, you feel sympathy for her experiences she had to suppress to make her stronger as a writer. With the major stereotype of Latin women being presented as the picture of the funny Hispanic maid mispronouncing words and cooking a spicy storm in a shiny California kitchen, Cofer 107, I portrayed this as imagery and the use of pathos, because of her distinct connotation of words and making you imagine the scene. However, also realize that is how some Americans only think of people from Latin descent. It makes a person want better for their culture and to distinguish this idea. In Judith Cofer's story, she addresses the people who are receiving backlash and racism just by the color of their skin. The writer witnesses and experiences sorts of this backlash and wants to show others that even though this happens, you should not let that dictate who you are or who you want to become. There is some information left out about how many anti-racial groups making more appearances in society than ever. However, the problems of racism are still apparent in most lives. The author may have not wanted to mention the rising number of groups because it may have made her argument weaker, but even with this evidence, we know racism has declined but still lives on. The central truth about racism is that many people witness it every day and take no action to help. Ethnic profiling happens around the world today, and many accusations are made based on what people look or sound like. Even with the news of African Americans in the police, everyone thinks first that there's a sort of racism happening there, and maybe there is, but we do not know for certain, and it is sad that our minds go straight to that when considering two different races. In my opinion, I think in order to succeed and survive in this world, we must all think as one mind and see each other as equals, unless we will be the death of one another. To stop this madness of racial profiling, we must learn from our past and move together as a whole and solve larger problems such as world peace and global warming. When people try to put Judith Cofer down and stereotype her, she stays strong and goes for what she wants, which is a lesson that everyone needs even when dealing with issues other than racism. With the use of metaphors, hyperboles, imagery, and pathos, the writer pulls and strengthens her argument to make her readers understand her struggles as a person and how she overcomes them and moves forward. After all these issues that have risen and fallen, racism is still apparent and needs an end, because everyone should have the chance to say or do what they want and receive no judgment in doing so. My name is Joleine Keller.